63rd Minnesota Outdoor Skills and Stewardship Series program. And I'll turn it over to Linda Bylander, our bow coordinator, and you can take it from here, Linda.
Thank you, Benji. Hi, I'm Linda Bylander. I'm with the DNR Fish and Wildlife. I'm the Women's Outdoor Skills Coordinator, Becoming an Outdoor Woman program. So today I'm joined by Barry Osborne. Barry is the park manager at Cuyuna Country State Recreation Area. It's up here. I live up in the Brainerd area. He's pretty close by in the Cuyuna and the Range Country up here. I'm very excited that he's joining us today. He has some new events happening at Cuyuna, some ribbon cuttings happening pretty soon. And also this Saturday is a free park day. You do not need a vehicle pass to get into a state park 4 days out of the year. And this Saturday is coming up. So Barry, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, good morning or afternoon. Thank you. I had to check my audio. Am I coming through good?
Yes.
Okay. So I was asked today to share the opportunities that we have at Cuyuna Country State Rec Area. And when I was putting this presentation together, other than reflecting and being thankful for the work I do here and the job I have, the thought kept coming back to me how I came about to enjoy the outdoors. And from the earliest memories I had, an image kept popping up in my head. And I came to the realization that I had my mom and my family to thank for my experiences in the outdoor and creating an interest. And the voice keeps coming back from my mom saying, stop picking on your brothers and sisters when we're in the vehicle going down the road. So the earliest image I had was my mom telling me to look out the window and stop picking on your brothers and sisters. So as I looked out the window, you could see whether it was an animal or a pond of water with a duck in it or a deer, or finally realizing that there's different hues of greens out there. So it's making those early observations. Now I know the seeds were planted much earlier in my life to be able to enjoy the outdoors. So I want to just talk about some of the opportunities today that we have at Cuyuna Country State Rec Area. So like I said, Cuyuna Country State Rec Area, it's one of Minnesota's parks, state parks. And as we look at this map, there are 75 state parks and rec areas within Minnesota. Of the 75, 9 are state recreational areas. And Cuyuna Country was the first recreation area. Location, we're just northeast of Brainerd. And looking at this map, you can tell that it's a typical pothole region. So a lot of lakes, a lot of trees. So before we can talk about what's going on currently, it helps to know a little bit about where this, historically, what was going on here and why the area looks the way it does now. So the Cuyuna area, and again, we're around the towns of Crosby, Ironton, Cuyuna. Iron ore mining was a huge part of the industry around here. In fact, a lot of the iron ore that came from here was instrumental in the war effort for World War II because of the type of iron that was being produced or being harvested here. So we had just open pit iron ore mines, so these big old holes in the ground. So that created opportunity, or it had the effect when that mining kind of went away. What were we going to do with this area? Well, luckily nature kind of helped us out. So through years, and then just the water level coming up in those big open pit mines, we're left with what we have today. Just a beautiful intermix of rolling hills, mostly treed areas, in very clean, deep pristine lakes. As you see, it's very, what I think is pretty similar to the boundary waters. But if you've been in the boundary waters, and if you've been here, you'll notice the water clarity. There's a huge difference here. This picture here, you can kind of see the edge, the sand under the water. That's actually about 30 feet deep. So the water clarity is more like a swimming pool than it is most of our lakes. Kind of give you an overview, the Cuyuna Country State Rec area is about 5,000 acres. And on the map here, it kind of lies next to the Crosby-Ironton area. There's other towns around: Riverton, Trommel, Cuyuna, Deerwood. So at Cuyuna, I like to say there is something for everyone here. And of course, Cuyuna is mostly known for our mountain biking. So we have gorgeous views. This is a single track dirt mountain bike trail. But there's all different kinds of skill levels from this. And if you're a little more adventurous, there's stuff with more challenges. So more rolling hills, more obstacles to go over. And we actually have developed trails for the expert level rider, way beyond my skill level. So multiple trails of all different ability levels. We have some of the best trail designers and developers in the country that have helped design the trails here. So they're very well signed. They talk about all the safety aspects, the skill levels that are required for each of these trails, and the equipment that's needed for them too. But it's not just winter. Biking here is year-round. We are known kind of as a fat tire bike mecca. So we get a lot of winter use on the trails too. And if you want something a little less challenging, we do have the Cuyuna Lakes State Trail. It's about a 10-foot wide asphalt trail. There's about 9 miles of that. So that goes from on the right-hand side of this map, which would be Deerwood, and going to the left or west, it goes to Riverton. So about 9 miles one way. We're also seeing technology has come into play too. This is a e-bike or electric motor assisted pedal bike. And so this has really opened the door for a wider age group and ability levels of people to get out onto any of our trails that are here. So you will be coming across riders that maybe in the past you typically have not. So great opportunities for the public. We are also seeing some adaptive bikes. In fact, our Sagamore unit, which is opening on June 15th, has the first purpose-built adaptive bike trails in the state of Minnesota park system. So these are specifically geared more towards the adaptive, but they are also good for two-wheel bikes because it's more accessible for people that have issues with narrower trails. So different types of adaptive bikes would be 3 and 4-wheel. Most of these are electrically assisted motors. So this one on the left here, this is like a hand trike. It's an adaptive bike. These are more geared towards the people that use these would, if they have less leg function, they can actually drive the bike with an electrically assisted motor. So it's a hand-driven cycle. when we had some riders come in and kind of test our trails so we could design and reevaluate our trails and the type of equipment, we learned quite a bit. The adaptive bikes are, of course, wider. They have different turn capabilities. So when we banked trails, we had to factor all that in. So we were highly cognizant of the safety factors. And we were kind of figuring out what these bikes were capable of. So we put a lot of challenges to them. Not all these challenges are incorporated within the trails, but we learned a lot about adaptive bikes. So this trail here would be a typical adaptive trail in our Sagamore unit. So it's wider. So if someone is even a regular bicycle that's not as comfortable on a single track mountain bike, it makes it more manageable, or they could ride side by side on these adaptive trails in our Sagamore unit. And like I was saying, we have all different types of skill levels. You know, it's not all just hard trail. In fact, the most of our trails are built for the median, or the kind of the middle type trail, middle difficulty. But we have from easiest all the way up to double black diamond. And these are kind of nationwide rating system. We try to be similar. So if you were riding a bike trail in a different state, and if you come to ours, the ratings would be fairly similar in difficulty. We do a lot of signage, and we have a skills development area. So if you haven't done a lot of riding, the skills area is an area that has a little bit of each type of trail. So you can practice and see where your skill levels are, and you can learn different techniques for biking. So not only is the rec area known for bicycling, but one of the future projects that are just coming online now is our waterways. We have, like I mentioned, the deep, gorgeous lakes. They are fairly narrow, most of them, so there's typically good locations to get out of any wind. So they're very nice to canoe and kayak on. So this is what is in our master plan for trail development of the waterways. So you will see portages starting to show up within the rec area, and you could spend days without duplicating any of the mileage. This is not your typical day, but this is last year's triathlon, and there is a triathlon coming up this Sunday. It's a very family-friendly triathlon, so all different ability levels. So there is a bike, a boat portion, and then a running portion. So this is, I think, last year's triathlon, just to give you an idea of the amount of people that are going to be in the system, or that can be in the system. So it's, like I said, a great venue for watercraft. And we're seeing a lot more paddle boards. And there's actually some more rental places in the local community. So you can rent bikes, paddle boards, kayaks, canoes. So plenty of opportunity. In the rec area, we also have these structures called yurts. We have 3 of them. They are in 2 other state parks, also in Glendalough and Afton, I believe. Basically what they are, they're about, half the height of a teepee, and they're a canvas structure, and they have tent or stoves in them. So we rent them year round, and the insides are just gorgeous. Other activities we see in the parks, there's a lot of scuba diving. One of the dive shops out of Brainerd does a lot of their diving, and I know people come from all over the country to dive in our mine pit lakes here, because the water's so clear. You can see down 30 feet And they can do deep water dives too. Some of our deepest lakes go over 525 feet deep. And they're just great for snorkeling too. We have great trout fisheries as well as other fisheries within the rec area. And they do regularly stock different types of trout here. Winter, like I was saying, we are very busy in winter also. So there's a snowmobile trail that comes through. We groom ski trail for freestyle skiing. We don't set classic track. Snowshoeing, or just hiking on our, almost all of our bike trails are open to hiking. The ones with technical features, those would not be open. So if there's wood structures within on the bike trail, but those would be posted. If you're just into watching wildlife, whether it's birds or any other type, there are plenty of opportunities. Most of the sports we have here are very quiet sports. Foraging, not to let out secrets, but there are great morel locations within the rec area. Different types of foraging. We have quite a few people that, whether it's day use or utilizing our campground. So we have a campground that's called Portsmouth Campground. And it's a great location, especially if you want to swim in the lakes or just hop on the bike trails. So the community are, like I said, relatively small towns, but there's a lot of activities that go on. They have just numerous restaurants, pubs, breweries, pizza, taco restaurants, ice cream shops, cheese shops, and all kinds of housing too. Like I said, the rec area does have its own campground, but there are a lot of bed and breakfast areas, private ones. There's house rentals. There's some groups that have wall tents. Most of these are right outside the rec area, so it's an easy, just jump on the bike and then enter the bike trails. A lot of kayak canoe rentals, paddle boards, and bike shops that can service any bikes or rent out regular bikes or e-bikes now too. Some of the other programs we have coming up, because it is such a great community and place to learn. We do have Icon mountain bike programs. And this year we are starting with 2 Icon paddle programs, great state programs that are only going to increase. So where do we go for more information? The Cuyuna Lakes Chamber is one of the best to find out about these, the restaurants or where to stay. They have a lot of information, and I'll put up some websites too about that. We are very thankful for our volunteers that help us keep the trails open here. And like I said, they are always looking for other help. This group is called the Crew, or Cuyuna Lakes Mountain Bike Crew. And like I said, they are the ones that really assist us in keeping the trails in some of the best condition they can be in. Other information on our trails, the DNR has a site, it's called GeoPDFs, where you can download the app on your phone is called Avenza Maps. And I'll put a link up for this too here in a bit. But all of our bike trails can be seen on your phone. It actually works off the GPS of your phone and puts a blue dot where you are on the trails as you're going through the systems. And then at the beginning, we mentioned a free park day. Well, this Saturday just happens to be one of the free park days that Minnesota parks have. And I have them listed lower down there. So February 19th was the first one for the year, April 23rd, June 11th, and then November 25th for this year. And so Minnesota parks do require a vehicle permit to come in. You can get a $7 daily or a $35 annual. But these 4 days, that requirement is waived. And that's how they help fund the parks. So there are some discounts with that too. There's a disability discount and then a veterans with disabilities. There's also a discounts there. So you can contact any state park for information on that. Or we have kiosks within the park where you can purchase them at the kiosk. The annual permits would then be mailed to you. Or you can go online to purchase those two under the DNR site. One real neat program is that the DNR has where you can check out a permit if you don't have the option to buy one. You can go to find out which library. I think Brainerd Library in this area, and I think Crosby has a library that also has. And you can check out these permits that sit on your dash, and you can check them out for 7 days, and that will get you into the park for free for that time. Okay, so a couple of the, and I think we're putting these up in the chat too. So these are some of the websites on some of the information I talked about, the Cuyuna Lakes Chamber website, the ICANN programs, the mountain bike and the paddling, Cuyuna Lakes mountain bike crew. So that's the volunteer one, the next one down on the list. The state library pass, there's some information on that. And then the mobile GeoPDFs. So that's where you would find, the Avenza app. So thank you for letting me share some of the opportunities that we have at Cuyuna. And like I was saying, these opportunities start with the fundamental skills of observation and curiosity. So like my mom said, look out the window, start making those observations. And I think we have to look at it like, I have my mom to thank, but who would you thank if you think back on how and why you enjoy the outdoors? Who will be thanking you that you introduce to the outdoors by creating some new memories? So find a friend, whether they have 4 or 2 legs, and get out on the trails. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Barry. We have one question so far. If you have a question for Barry, go ahead and put them in the Q&A if you can. So the first question, and you might want to even mention about the medical facility we have up there, but how do you communicate backcountry locations in case of an emergency, like an injured biker?
Sure. Safety is one of the things that we look at quite a bit, all the way from when we're designing and developing trails. We factor in the difficulty rating, the distance for EMS to get there, and accessibility. So we have a pretty good wayfinding system. By that I mean map boards that tell you where you are. These boards also tell you what rated trail you are on and some of the difficulties with them, so you're not being surprised when you're out on trails. Other things, we just had a training scenario that we did with the whole multi-agency. So all the police departments, all the fire departments, the county, the dispatch. We just had that about a week and a half ago. And that was to practice just our communications and how we would access and find people on the trail. So by practicing by design and development, and just being aware of and the opportunities we give for people locating themselves, whether it's the events app or the markers we have out on the trail, so how they would relay that to dispatch or the 911 if they had to call them.
And up in the Cuyuna, there's a brand new medical facility that's just top notch also. So if there is an injury, it's just a couple miles down the road that people can go to. I know my son and his friend had an accident, and people on the trail helped them get to the medical center. So the people out there are very friendly also. Here's the next question. Thanks for doing this. I was wondering if there's been significant investment in the trail area from the NRTF or legacy amendment. If so, how much money and how were those funds used?
Unfortunately, I don't have the funding numbers at my fingertips. A lot of our trails have had multiple agencies and private people contribute for the development and design of these trails.
Okay, the next question. My family and I signed up for an I Can Bike in July. Can you share more about that? What will be covered in that?
That is something we actually contract out. So it's like a third-party vendor that does that, even though they do it within the park. I don't have a lot of information, but I think a lot of it could be gained from the website that we put up. But it is geared towards beginners and making people comfortable and finding out what their comfort level is. So, you learn everything about riding, techniques, safety, how you should interact with other people on the trails. So it's multifaceted, but mostly geared towards beginners.
And Cuyuna has that practice track that's in full view, so parents can watch their kids practice on the trails. So that's something I'm sure that ICANN program will use.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this isn't a question, but did you talk about helmets and a recommendation for? I know they have the ones that have a certain rating for concussions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a recommendation for helmets?
I think that's something we do recommend that, and it's the recommended equipment, that we have on our signage. But I think that also goes with the skill level of the rider and the comfort of them. It's a very important component, especially of mountain bike trail riding.
Yep. So like when I go out there, I just use my regular bike helmet and I stay on those paved trails, but my son has a helmet that is rated for concussions. So be aware of that there are helmets of different quality based on what you're going to be doing. Let's see, the next question. You have several thank yous. Wasn't familiar with this area, so it was a great overview. Thanks. This person is asking, where is the I think she meant closed skill course in the park? Do we meet there? That's a specific question about the ICANN program. So maybe that person, is there a vendor that she can contact if she has more questions about that?
Yes, and there should be some numbers through the ICANN program. If not, I will, they can contact me. And I don't know if I have my email up there, but I'll get it.
Okay, and I have her email. I can give that to you. So you,
Okay.
Okay, so Teresa, we will contact you with that number for the ICANN program, because that is a third vendor that we work with. Just going down questions here. Have there been many wildfires in the Cuyuna area the last few years? Also wondering how the tick mosquitoes are around there in the summer.
We have not seen a lot of wildfires. In that our area is actually covered by 4 fire departments, but we could also get assistance from the DNR fire departments. So we have a lot of resources in the areas, but no, we have not seen a lot. As far as the ticks and mosquitoes, of course, it's Minnesota, but they are very seasonal. And there's a fair crop this year of both. So, you know, just we always take precautions, whether it's you know, tick sprays or pants gaiters, which is just wraps around the bottom of your pant leg to kind of eliminate ticks from climbing up the inside of your pants. So definitely take precautions on both accounts.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that I see. Anything else you'd like to say? Otherwise, I want to thank everybody for their participation today. Again, this Saturday is a free day to come into any state park across Minnesota. There was a link for all the state parks and state recreation areas. Cuyuna is a beautiful, even if you're just wanting to hike, it's very picturesque. It's just so pretty up there. It's a unique area that's well worth a trip. And the towns up there are very cute, very old fashioned, old looking still. And quite a few rentals up there. So if you don't have a mountain bike, there's rental places up here. So that Chamber of Commerce would be a good one. So if there's no other questions, Benji, you haven't seen any questions I didn't see?
I did see one
Okay.
on, are there any plans to add additional mountain biking trails in Cuyuna?
So we are opening up the Sagamore unit, like I said, on the 15th. And that will be additional, and that will bring our numbers up to about 60 miles of mountain bike trails. And that includes all different skill levels of that 60 miles. And there is another about 10, 12 miles that is another local one up by Cuyuna, the town of Cuyuna.
Great. I was going to ask you that too, about how many miles you had. How many miles of hiking and cross-country ski trails do you have up there too?
So a lot of those they are kind of dual purpose, whereas in the summertime, like the Cuyuna Lake State Trail, in the wintertime, it is groomed for skiing. And then we have a separate snowmobile too. So the Cuyuna Lake State Trail gets groomed. So that's 9 miles of skiing.
Great. Thanks so much for the information. I know Linda's been there and her son uses it. My girls are mountain bikers. We've been up there in the fall and stayed in the yurt and did some fishing in one of the pits there. And we had a blast. So it's a great place to come visit. And hopefully a lot of our participants come up and learn a little bit more about it and come join you. So.
Yep, and don't forget, there's great trout fishing up there. The lakes are so deep and cool that they stock trout up here. So you can fish, you can hike, you can bike. My son got a scuba certificate out of the mine pit. So, well, thank you very much, Barry. I don't think we have any other questions, so we'll end this program. But I want to thank you very much for sharing your unit and about the free park day this Saturday, and then about the new Sagamore unit that's opening up. That's a wider, more adaptive trail. So thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
And for anybody interested, I did throw a link in the chat for the I Can mountain bike program too. So if you do have other questions about that, that might be able to help you out too. So.
Great. And then join us next week, Wednesday, for aquatic invasive species. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks. See everybody next week.